Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, thank you so much for stopping by. I've been a little under the weather, but hey, I'm back. I'm rocking it. Total headache, major headache, which, I am trying to get clean, and maybe that is part of detox. Maybe I just have a flu. Whatever the case is, I am happy to check in and, do my part in this movement towards wellness. What I wanted to talk about was self image and really self acceptance, and how, you know, our distorted view of ourselves starts at a very young age for most kids. And so I'm going to attach a video. So, as always, you don't have to take notes, but I will attach the video. And it was a really interesting talk with girls ages 6 to 18, sponsored by Allure magazine, and what the perception is for those, I want to say children, of course, those girls that they already have, good or bad. And I was thinking, man, I had a tough go of it. I was the youngest. There were 6 girls, 5 boys. We were all 1 year apart, 11 years and 10 months between all of us. And between my next sister and I was only 14 months, and the next sister was 14 months. Between those two sisters was only 9.5 months. And then it was like, 11 months, 10 months, 9.5 months. They're called Irish twins when you're less than a year apart. And we had a couple of sets of Irish twins. So anyway, we were very close in age, but because it was 14 months, I was actually 2 grades lower than my sister. And it really set up a difficult time for me because, one, there was a lot of competition in my family, and I didn't feel like I was ever good enough. When in retrospect, when I look back, I realized that a lot of what I was accomplishing, being 2 grades lower, was very impressive, but I had no idea at the time. Another thing is I had a lot of body shame from my earliest days, and I know it's because some people, under the premise of playing doctor and stuff like that, were sexually abusing me by all accounts. So I was never comfortable with my body, but I was super skinny as a little kid, and like at 4 years old, I had a really pronounced pelvic bone because I was so skinny. I mean, my hips were pronounced too. Everything was pronounced. But siblings being siblings would tease me and said I had balls and that I was supposed to be a boy. I mean, it's like really cruel, right? Of course, as a woman, I've grown balls to kick ass when I need to. I couldn't resist. But as a kid, I was so afraid I was going to become a boy. It was terrible. And I remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old and I first started getting what they referred to as peach fuzz. When you first start to get hair as a child, I was so ashamed that I actually stole a razor and was trying to shave it off because I was so ashamed and so embarrassed that anybody would see that. Only knowing my luck, one of my sisters caught me and told the whole world. So I had no chance. I mean, whatever I thought I was going to be hiding, I was on the front page of the Los Angeles Times by morning. Anyway, I don't think these girls have had these experiences by any means, but they definitely talked about what their perception is on whether they're good enough or what's going on with their bodies. So I took some notes. The one thing that was kind of tragic and interesting was this 13-year-old who said that because of the media and beauty magazines talking about having a thigh gap, and I mean, let's be fair, her body just isn't designed to have a gap. Like, she just doesn't have the width of her pelvic bone to have a gap. And thigh gaps are popular, and she tragically realized she probably would never have one no matter how thin she got. And she's 13. Another one who was only like 8 years old was talking about how her parents compliment her and say that she's skinny. But she can't really trust her parents' perception because she says all parents are so kind. She can only measure herself by her friends. And that one of her friends is a dancer, and she considers her friend skinnier. Oh, she was 10 years old. That her friend is skinnier, and she just wants to compare, like match up, fit in. Another one was talking about how she's always been so tall that finally, as a senior in high school, was the first time that boys even started to grow to meet her height, and how uncomfortable that was, and how her mother would always talk to her about slouching. And another very tall girl was talking about slouching intentionally because she was so uncomfortable with her height. So another girl, 13, and just deciding, kids were talking about her saying she was fat. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry because kids are so cruel. A 16-year-old saying that kids were writing online that only thin girls can wear bikinis, not fat girls. And another one having her friend being mocked online. Of course, online, right? Where people have courage to be so cruel. But saying how fat she was. This other 18-year-old, just reflecting back, said that she had dressed up as Madonna one year. She probably rocked the outfit for Madonna. But this kid said, so who are you supposed to be? And she was like, Madonna. And he's all, isn't Madonna supposed to be thin? Guy, so cruel. This 8th grader was saying that she didn't consider herself to have an eating disorder per se, but that she would fast. Which, she's only 13 years old. Another kid mentioned, again, being all too aware of these comments and topics and things through social media and things, is that there's another term called slim thick. And this is probably a Kardashian type thing, but you have to have a balanced body where you're allowed to be very slim in some areas, like your waist, but that you have to be thick in other areas, like your butt. You're required to have a bigger butt. So this other little 11-year-old, God bless her, she said that she just chooses not to look in the mirror. And that when she looks in the mirror, she thinks of who she wants to be. But that if she doesn't look in the mirror, she's more accepting of who she is. And the poor little thing, she's 11 years old and she's like, I just call it a day. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. She talked about her facial structure and that her nose might be considered too big. So she just chooses not to look in the mirror. So what they said was, can you just go ahead and focus on one thing that you do appreciate about yourself? And what was so sweet, bar none, remember this interview was like 6 to 18-year-olds, but bar none, the 6 and 7-year-olds recognized how physically strong they are, that they have muscles in their legs from doing gymnastics, cartwheels on the playground, playing on the monkey bars, that they just loved how strong they were. Gotta love that. And then finally, the older girls, 18, 16, like their eyes. They like their eye color. They like the shape of their eyes. This 11-year-old loved her skin color, which was a darker skin. This one 10-year-old said she's just beautiful, period. And I was like, rock and roll. And this one girl said, you know what? I don't care that fat chicks are supposed to wear a one-piece. I wear a two-piece because I like features on my body. And I really loved that for her. So it's super interesting. I was just thinking, as moms in particular, I know it happens with dads, but moms in particular, it's so important that you hold your tongue. When you're saying that you're just feeling so fat that day, or you look so awful in your pants, or you're just so tired of dieting or whatever, little kids, they are absolutely absorbing and memorizing every single thing you say. So if you have the grace to scream into your pillow, instead of, voicing that all the time, maybe the girls would be less inclined to adopt that behavior at such a young age. And I'm not saying that that's taking place at home, because kids are very competitive at school. And as they suggested, the people were so rude online. But just to have a conscious awareness. Like, I'm really careful in front of my dogs, okay? In front of my pig. I don't want to shame my pig. I tell her, you were just built that way. Don't worry about it. I'm just playing. But, I just wanted to say, I grew up with such a terrible self-image. And later, it was like, I would have done anything to still be that height and weight. I was perfect. I was already 5'7", by 6th grade, and like 123, which would have just been a really healthy thing. But people were already being so terrible to me, And like, I was pretty much normal weight all through high school and really healthy. I was on swim team, drill team, volleyball, basketball, advanced dance. I mean, I just was going. And even as a freshman in college, I was still on swim team. But I just panicked when I got out. I didn't have the tools for life, and I panicked. And I had a friend who was a binger, a really incredible binger, and she got me really going on it, and I just didn't look back. No matter when I was scared, I would choose food. So it's been a long road, but as I suggested, I feel like I'm at the half point of my life, and I'm ready for the second half. All right, my friends, leave messages. What do you think about that? Are you aware of how you might be affecting your children? And just for yourself, do you know where you stem from? Do you know when your first shaming started, like for me at 4 years old? It's been a long road, but it's all good. I'm blessed, I'm Jules, and I'm vegan. All right, peace be with you. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. And until we talk again, my friends, as always, be blessed.